Welcome back, listeners. I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Today we have
Mhm.
a special guest with us, Harold Phifer. He is the author of My Bully, My Aunt, and Her Final Gift. So,
Mhm.
Harold, tell us a little bit about yourself and about this book.
Oh, um, started writing around about 2018, and I'm air traffic control of it. I did it in the U.S. for like 23 years. I retired and started doing contracting, and so I started in Iraq, then I went to Afghanistan, went to Guantanamo Bay. Now I'm back in Iraq. Okay. Um, I wrote the book Surviving Chaos: How to Find Peace at a Beach Bar, and in that book, I talked about thinking I was going to die. We had a suicide bomber hit our camp, and I thought I was going to die. So, in the process of waiting to be, say, slaughtered, I started to, uh, I guess you say, think about all my life in my past. And so, all the things in the book, I started back from when I was about three and a half, four, and came forward. Well, one of the characters in that book was my aunt.
Mhm.
And so, after reading the book and, trying to sell it and all that, I like, wow, and people even mention, kept asking about my aunt. I'm like, well, I guess she deserves a story of her own. So now that came to my bully, my aunt, and her final gift. And I talked about all the zaniness and how she really stunt my growth. She
Okay.
really did all she can. She was cool when my brother wasn't around. Whenever he was around, it's like I wasn't there. She,
Mhm.
didn't want to hear me, you know, act, don't be seen or don't be heard. And so all the zaniness I observed or experienced when basically when my brother was around.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was the guy, nice looking, you know, um, all that, she wanted to be his mom.
Okay.
And since she couldn't, she kind of like doubled down to, I guess, to be near him and make him superior to the rest of the brothers.
Okay.
So so a lot of it I talked about all the issues that went on, but so much of it was funny. It wasn't
Okay.
funny then, but looking back, it's funny.
So tell us a little bit about that because it says here that you survived a schizophrenic mother and
Mhm.
your aunt was abusive. So tell us a little bit about that and how that, led you towards writing this book.
Yeah, my aunt took advantage of my mom being schizophrenic. And
Mhm.
I mean, it was tough growing up, going to school, kids. They're 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 not nice, you
Right.
know. And so that was tough enough. But then my aunt took advantage too because my mom was much more attractive. She was challenged, mentally challenged, but she's still, nice body, cute little lady. So she
Mhm.
did attract men more so than my aunt. My aunt didn't.
Right. Okay.
But she took advantage, I guess, as in I'm the better woman, I'm a better parent, and and then you throw in that mix of this is my kid, kind of,
Mhm.
and the rest of us really didn't matter. So it was a challenge, and and as a kid, you see it all and you watch it unfold, and I never forgot it. Of course, obviously, that's why I wrote the book.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So how many other siblings did you have?
Actually, at three, but
Mhm.
one of my brother got killed
Oh man.
around I want to say 97, and
Oh,
so I didn't want to bring him into this book, so I just purposely left him out. You know, but
right.
in the surviving chaos, I did mention him, and but to make the story flow, I left him out.
Okay. Okay. And so when you say that you were being bullied by your aunt, what exactly did that consist of?
Oh boy. Like I talked about, we would be in like a Christmas place. I was kind of a academic inclined kid. I had good memory. So
Mhm.
any place where I was on it. But she was push me aside and try to put my older brother out front, even to stealing some of my poems that I read,
Mhm.
stuff like that. She would, um, she would, spank me or whip me over whipping him, and we would do the same stuff. I mean, matter of fact, I mean, granted, a lot of stuff was my ideal, but
Yeah.
but he, commit the same atrocity that I did,
Mhm.
But she didn't ask who I did it was. Well, maybe she knew. I don't know. But
Right.
I would get the beating and he wouldn't. It was
Yeah.
always like that.
So how would you say, and this was during your entire childhood?
I would say, yeah. My mom split off probably around about 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, to got
Mhm.
her own place, which was a dump. But anyway, she did.
Mhm.
But still, my aunt had that control over her. She still had that. We still had that fear and respect. And
Mhm.
one of the things I talked about in the book Surviving Chaos, um, I was afraid of her, respect her, always looked in the eye, never, said anything slick. And I was about 18, 19, 19. I got in a fight with my older brother and beat him up. So he goes and he goes and tell her, and we fought all the time. He used to beat me up, but finally I got some courage, finally want to fight, right? So he goes and tell her, mind you, let me digress. All the time he beat me up and I complained, nothing happened.
Yeah.
She was saying nothing. So the
Yeah.
first time I win a fight, he tells her, she comes over, threatens me, and shows me her gun.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there like, I never talked back. I never said a sick word. I never rolled my eyes. I never looked down when you were talking to me. Why the first time you got to show, you know what I'm saying? That did it. That broke me. That really pushed me away from her. Yeah.
Right. And you were 9?
No, no, this time I was about 19.
Oh,
And
okay. Okay.
yeah. And I'm
Wow.
like, what I'm saying? Like the whole time you know me, I never anything she asked me within reason, like if she wanted me to do chores, if I couldn't do it, I give her time I could do it, you
Mhm.
know. And so it broke me. It really seared what needed to have been seared many years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine your mental state of being, while all of this is going on. So
Mhm.
in the midst of this, you said that you were 19. So what exactly when did you enlist? Oh no, you said that you weren't fully in the military, correct?
Mm-mm. Right, right.
So when did that come about and what made you start helping, assisting with the military, should I say?
I did 23 years in the U.S. I worked in Memphis, worked in Houston, I
Mhm.
worked in a town called Monroe, Louisiana. And inside issues, I won't go too deep, but I
Mhm.
like, I'm tired of this. I want to do something different. So I got to a
Right.
point where I could retire. So I retired, like I'm gonna try it differently, and it is different. I'm gonna, I didn't join the military, but I'm gonna work with them.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so that happened around 2010.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm just trying to figure out. So you were already an air traffic controller?
Mhm.
Okay, and then that's where you went to
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Hmm.
Okay, okay. So I'm just trying to okay, and then so tell us a little bit about the suicide bombing and how this
Ooh.
came into play as well.
Well, let me see what can I share.
Ugh,
Um, we live like off the base.
mhm.
And I mean, on the base, you got all the protection, but you live off the base, they have like private security, okay,
Okay.
which makes you a lot more vulnerable. I hate to say,
Mhm.
but so the Taliban, they would wherever they could, corrupt or cause havoc, they would do it.
Yeah.
And and it happened around town. You would hear about it, Of course, it didn't hit the news all the time. Some of the time, but not all the time.
Hmm.
Probably like 10% of the time. But so
Yeah.
you would hear about these things. So this one night from work, I got an eerie feeling. You know how to say it. I just had an eerie feeling, and went to our cafeteria. And time we went to the cafeteria, the place just blew up. And
Hmm.
and kind of luckily I was at the cafeteria, but unfortunately too, right? But and I say lucky because I was in a kind of safer place than where I normally would sleep.
Hmm.
And so the place blew up, felt like the building took off the ground. It really did. So everybody ran out and I knew their pattern. I'm like, they'll blow places up, then get you disoriented, then they're coming and shoot what's left until they
Hmm.
died, until they got killed. So
Yeah.
once the building blew, everybody ran out. I'm like, I don't think that's the move. I'm thinking they outside waiting, come assault, assault everybody they could.
Right. Yeah.
So I waited and eventually made it to the safe room, long story short. But the whole time, all this going on, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And while I'm sitting, my mind is playing back my whole childhood, just coming forward from,
Yeah.
just playing in my head. So, and like I said, I'm sitting there and I made a vow, God, if you let me out of this, I'll write this book. Because all my life, I said, I'm gonna write a book, man. I had a crazy life, I'm gonna write. And, I had never written it. And all of a sudden,
Mhm.
like you sitting there, you think you're about to die. I'm like, man, I never wrote that book. You know,
Mhm.
as well as thinking, God, this is embarrassing. My kid, the
Yeah.
dad gone, and it's weird you think of that, but yeah, I was like, this isn't, embarrassing,
Right.
and you don't say goodbye and all that. And but anyway, long story short, we did get saved,
Mhm.
and that's when I started writing.
Yeah.
But and the weird thing, I tell people, I said, man, it takes a lot to scare me, but that did
Yeah.
it.
I could only imagine. Absolutely. So after all of this transpired, that's what kind of gave birth to this book, correct? Or is
Right,
is
right.
there two books?
Yeah, it's a spin-off. The first one was this one, Surviving Chaos.
Surviving Chaos. Okay.
Yeah. Surviving Chaos, How I Found Peace at a Beach Bar. And it was my baby. I was proud of it. But then the more you write, the better you get. And
Right.
it took a couple years and I started working on this one. I'm like, it's smoother. It's not as dramatic.
Mhm.
It pulled anger out of you to see how mean she was, to see
Right.
how she took advantage, how she pushed me aside, always had hard cuss words for me. And I was a geeky square kid.
Mhm.
I was not the guy that really need to get told or get whipped into
Right.
shape. I wasn't that dude.
Mhm.
But I got that kind of whooping though.
Right. Right. And were you the only one that she treated that way?
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
I think the biggest reason because and I talked about it. That's a story called Slide Hal Slide, and I
Mhm.
talked about it because of she knew I was closer to my older brother.
Mhm.
I commit. I hate to say manipulating, but I could get him to do things. I mean, we were close for 6, 7. We were close. So I
Yeah.
could get him to do things and make him laugh, and and vice versa. He could get me to do things. We were brothers.
Uh-huh.
She hated that relationship for some reason.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
once I started playing baseball, that's when I started to really get away from both of them. Like these beatings are not worth being his brother. you know?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
So
still have a relationship with your brother?
no, he's passed on. He,
Okay. So
yeah.
okay, so that was the brother that you spoke about in the first book.
Right.
Okay.
But but
And then
but even in this book, he we had a separate relationship, and I hate to tell it, hate to give the way that, but the story is about me. Can be honest, the part is about me reuniting with my brothers,
Oh,
and
okay, okay,
yeah, but
okay, good.
without to but
Okay,
yeah,
so you didn't want to speak about that part. That one's for the book, right?
right, right. But yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah,
I understand. And so,
yeah.
what was it like growing up with a schizophrenic mother? Like, how
Ooh,
did that look to you as a child?
it was devastation. It was she would do things for attention, and I got a bad one. I'm gonna share it, you, and I shared it with my daughter and my son-in-law. I said when I was a freshman in college, she stole a frozen chicken and got arrested for stealing frozen chicken
Mhm,
from the store. I said, man, I could not have survived that if I had been in high school. I
mhm.
said, God just protected me, gave me an extra year. I said, I could not have survived it,
Right,
And I bring it up to say it was always stuff that was, man, it'll take the air out of you that she would do. I mean, she'd ride a bike, she would cuss people out, she would pull in front of cars, people almost hit her just for attention. She would do all kind of wild things. And of course, I would hear about it,
right, yeah.
or or people want to pick on me about it, and God, it was rough. It was, but yeah.
Man, so how did you come out of that? When you were younger, how did you mentally handle that?
Ah, it, you know, you tried. I tried to find friends, and that was hard.
Hmm.
That didn't take advantage of that situation because it was always a good joke, a good
Hmm.
laugh,
Hmm.
and you try to find friends that didn't treat you that way or look for an opportunity to get one off,
Hmm.
and that was hard. So I was telling one of my coworkers, I say, so I was always trying to fit in, trying to find in, trying, not be noticed. You always want to make sure you overlooked or didn't stand out, and that once again, it stunts your growth. It stunts who you are.
Hmm.
Um, and I tell people even to this day, I said, man, I know I'm strange because I never knew how to socialize because I was always trying to
Yeah.
be evasive,
Hmm.
and and people would always, take advantage of, if we're better than anybody, we're better than him because he's got the crazy mother,
Hmm. Yeah.
and we were dirt poor,
Hmm.
so it was hard,
Yeah. And would you say like your social anxiety or
hmm
social, yeah, like, are you still that way now? Has that carried over into adulthood?
Well, mm, no, in my younger years though he did, because like when I started dating, I was I run a lot of good relationship because I was screwed up, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and it's from being bitter, and I was because the hard thing is knowing you are a step or two smarter or better than the people you're around,
Hmm.
but you're always treated like you're the last or the lowest, on the totem pole.
Right.
And that was hard, even socially, I wasn't an ugly kid, but that
Hmm.
was tough too, and
Yeah.
nobody wanted to put up with the kid with the crazy mom,
Yeah.
So so that was it was tough, and it made me bitter. I won't lie. It made me bitter. And it took probably, and this is a weird thing in spiritual, it took me to about 28 to realize out of all that I went through, God still made me more unique.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see it. And
Hmm.
that's when I started to change, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I like
all
that.
that yeah, all that had been thrown at me. I'm like, you've always been better than everybody. It's been that you just couldn't see it. I,
Hmm.
I was too busy looking at the negativity, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Just being focused on the negativity instead of
hmm
wondering why,
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
chosen to go this path? Yeah.
not being
So,
invited to the parties, not being able to fit in, so
mhm,
not I was too busy focused on that and not realizing he protected me and he made me very unique, you know. Yeah.
absolutely. So, and this is in the midst of all of this going on in the middle of your childhood, or is this more in your adulthood when you started coming to this realization with God?
Uh, I had a problem with God for years
Hmm.
because oh boy, my aunt, the very religious, one of the most evil person I ever met. My
Hmm.
dad was very religious, didn't care about, I'm the bastard child, didn't know me. So I'm
Mm,
sitting there like, if they were so godly, why would I want to be a part of that? You know,
right.
I had a problem with that for years. Even some girls I dated that were very religious,
Yeah.
but were evil,
Right. Yeah.
So, so I had a problem for years with that.
Yeah. But that's true because it kind of sheds light on the fact that the devil tries to mimic God, and there are going to be a lot of people
There you
who
go.
portray themselves as godly when they're really not. So
Right,
that's very understandable.
right,
You said they were
right.
evil.
They were evil.
Yeah. But at least you survived, and at
Yeah,
least you're no longer in those situations. So that's kind of all that matters.
right. Yeah, I got that. I don't let a lot bother me. I try to, I guess, be seen as approachable or friendly or whatever. And if someone is not, it doesn't bother me. That's their issue, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about this book when it's available on Amazon. When is that due to release?
Okay. Matter of fact, it's on Amazon now, or the ebook. It's like about $1. It's like a
Okay.
steal. And
Hmm.
everybody that have written it, the reviews are almost all 5 stars.
Hmm.
Everybody who have read it love it. And like I said, it's cheap right now. I'm running low, trying to get people check it out.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not gonna be at that price forever, but just trying to make sure it get out there, people know about it. But the official drop is gonna be March 18th, and
Okay.
that's when the paper book and hopefully the audiobook will be there too.
Oh,
So
nice.
right. So like March 18th is the date, and gonna try to have another big promotion to make sure it's known. But right now, like I said, just the ebook itself, it's a steal for $1. And I encourage everybody to go out and get it. You won't regret it. I mean, yes, I'm biased, but even when I read it, it still makes me laugh. It's still, a lot there to make you feel proud. I talked about being a Boy Scout, how the Boy Scout leader really, look out for us. I talked about, like I said, this kid with all this bravery. He goes to the parade by himself. It's a lot of good things in there that feel good, probably can relate to, and like I said, you'll be proud of and get a bunch of good laughs in there. Yeah.
Nice. And that's good that you told us that because I was going to ask you for a short synopsis of your book. So that's wonderful that you told us a little bit about that. And what is your website?
It's riseandread.com. Like get up and read, like rise, riseandread.com, riseandread.com.
Dot
Mhm,
com.
mhm.
And are you available on any social media platforms?
Yeah, I'm on all of them. Facebook is like Harold Pfeiffer 2024. I think the same thing. Instagram, Harold Pfeiffer 2024. On X, like HE Pfeiffer, like Hotel Echo Papa, Hotel India, Foxtrot Echo Romeo on
Okay.
X. Yeah. So yeah, I'm there.
Well, thank you. Thank you so, so much. And just really quick, I wanted to just kind of go backwards a little bit. As far as
Mhm.
your duty as an air traffic controller, I never understood that. So, what exactly is there? Just what is the description of that?
Oh, it's like a three different version.
Mhm.
The one you're most familiar with is the tower, and it's kind of what I'm
Okay.
doing here.
Mhm.
And the tower is like tell me land, take off, all within about a 40 miles of that airport of that city.
Okay.
Okay. And then you got the bigger part, which you what they call approach control, where it's mainly all radar. And they're about 100 to 80 miles kind of circle around that city. Okay.
Mhm.
And then the center, which I did also, is which I did most of the US, is like about 500, 800 miles out. So it
Mhm.
could be 6, 7 cities, all combined that they just they feed into the approach and the approach feed into the tower. So they start big, smaller, and then home. And same with going out. Small, bigger, then out like that.
And how long
So
have you been in Iraq?
oh, I came back in March of last year. So
Uh-huh.
I've been here a couple of times. Yeah.
Really? And so
Yeah.
is it just you only have a certain time to be there, or is this your personal decision to be there?
More or less my personal decision.
Nice. So what
Yeah.
is it? What is there to enjoy while you're there?
It's not enjoy, it just combination of pay is, pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Um, and you get time to yourself to write books.
Yeah.
So if I was in the US, I'd be totally distracted. So,
Hmm.
I'm kind of on a mission, want to get a couple things in place. Hopefully, eventually, I can, be on the book tour, speaking tour. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping to come out of it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So eventually, I want to build a brand, a following that I
Hmm.
can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like getting away from distractions and you notice that. So
Mm.
that's huge. So I greatly appreciate that. Is there any
It's,
advice or anything that you would like to give your listeners?
ooh, wow. Believe in yourself, for one. I mean, you hear that all the time. It's never too late. Friend of mine's, I lost my mother in 2017, the schizophrenic mom. And it's
Mm-hmm.
weird. I still missed her. We had a horrible relationship, but,
Mm-hmm.
but once she's gone, I missed her. So I told a friend of mine, I think he lost his mom about a month, 2 months ago. And I told him before he knew she was going to pass. I said, man, all the things that you could think of to ask her or tell her, how much I love you or whatever, or I'm sorry. I said, please go do it. I said,
Mm-hmm.
because once she's gone, she's gone. And I
Right.
said, and you're gonna think about her, and you're gonna wish you just could pick up the phone and say, "How you doing?" And you can't,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
or I'm okay, and you can't.
Yeah.
I said, so do all that, man, while you can, because trust me, 4 or 5 months after come to grips with losing her, you're gonna feel good that you did that. You know,
Yeah. I
yeah,
like that. That's a powerful message. I greatly appreciate that.
yeah.
But thank
But
you. Oh, go
but
ahead.
my Aunt Kathy, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. That's understandable as well.
You got to read the book and you'll understand why. But in death, she sent a message. She sent a gift.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. That
That's what,
absolutely.
yeah,
I like that. There's positivity, through
right,
all of the adversity and the trauma and the turmoil. And
right.
I like that that's what your book it speaks about. So I greatly do appreciate that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your time, Harold. Again, I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. And if you would
okay.
like to get in touch with Harold, it's going to be available in the show notes as well. Thank you
Okay.
all and stay blessed.
Thank you, Miss Black. Okay. You take care.